Hello. So, what I'll be talking about is my final exam, which is Chicano and Chicana history topic and choose topic. The reason for selecting the quotes I'll be presenting and analyzing is because those are the main points information about the Chicano history and what they were most struggling with. I believe these information and topics are very important to know about, and I would gladly expand more about what I'll be talking about. Okay, these two books I'll be introducing. Two sources and books that I'll be using is Mirasa Primero and Racism on Trail. Mirasa Primero was published in 2002 by Chavez Ernesto, and this book talks about the Chicano movement development mostly in Los Angeles, how Chicano nationalists were led by the Brown Berets and how they claim as land, how they wanted a third party that was for them and focuses on their issues. On the other hand, Racism on Trail was published in 2003 by Henry Lopez. It was mostly about legal racism and racial politics. It talks about the biased opinions, discrimination, and much more. This book talks about the overall history, story about the Chicano movement and how it all happened. For example, the civic teacher helping out students to protest and walkouts. There's so much more to talk about in these two books. Okay, so my thesis. To organize under the Chicano identity, young Mexican American students contribute to undermining racial power and racism in schools and fields. I'll be talking about the systemic problems, how they were motivated in organizing and activism, and their contributions and efforts during the movement. Okay. Okay, my first topic, the systemic problems that Chicanos and Mexicans have faced were discrimination in schools and fields in the U.S. One of the systemic problems that they have faced, especially the students, were segregation and unfair education in schools. In the film Chicano Taking Back the Schools, it stated that Mexican American students still suffered from neglect and unequal resources. The end result of this is that the Mexican children were given inferior education, which prepared them from menial kinds of positions and jobs as cheap laborers, the kinds of positions of what their parents filled. Okay, explanation of the quote. They were still being segregated, and it was going way too far for the Mexican students. It wasn't fair for them. They didn't have much of the choice of what to study or learn about in school. They were seen as if they weren't worth teaching, and that they will always be Mexicans, meaning they had to work like one. Many of the students were actually very tired of this. Okay. Second quote. Another systemic problem that they faced was in the fields and working as a farm worker. In the film Struggle in the Fields, it states farm workers unfortunately were considered just another item in producing products like fertilizer or boxes or water. Most growers didn't treat their workers with any degree of respect or dignity. The life of immigrant farm workers was quite harsh and would work in long days of working in the hot sun and exposures to poison pesticides. Besides this issue, their children's education was usually limited to 2 or 3 years of school due to the fact that they would often have to work in the fields with their parents. They even lived in horrible conditions and they got paid lousy wages. Okay, second topic. Due to the systemic problems that they were having, it motivated them to organize and do activism during the Chicano movement. In the book Racism on Trail, it states high school students also organized in 1966. They formed a group called Young Citizens for Community Actions, which concentrated at first on educational issues. In the fall of 1967, high school students in East Los Angeles began developing plans to walk out of their schools. High school students organized a group or an organization to focus on the issue and do anything to make a change by protesting. They were so tired of it and thought at first that they were the only ones that felt that way until they knew other students from other schools that they had the same issues. And so that's when they decided that they needed to do something in order to save their education and have a fair education as white students. Doing this type of organization was their very first time, and they were able to get through. Because of the issue that they were having, they ended up getting tired of it and wanted to do something about it. The farm workers did an organization that would help them and be heard. And the struggle in the film, struggle in the fields, it stated that strike leaders took their struggle out of the fields and into the marketplace, calling for a nationwide consumer boycott against grapes and grape products. Many of the farm workers felt humiliation and were sometimes fired for no reason. So these people were tired of it and wanted something better for their children. And that's when they started to do the walkout and strikes. Third topic, the contributions and efforts of the Chicano power movement in the 21st century has made a huge impact. The 10-point program has been a huge part of the issues that the Chicana and Mexicans and their contributions and efforts of the Chicano movement was a huge thing. In the book Miras en Primero, it states the growing publicity about the Barretts prompted the group to re-examine its mission, and in June 1968, in relation of the Black Panthers, they admired to circulate a 10-point program. The 10-point program is a unity of all people of any age, income, as well as the right to bilingual education, dementia history, the Mexican American being taught in schools, all rights, the right to vote, and much more. The Barretts making this 10-point program has eventually helped and has become true. There was many focus to have Mexicans being able to have these resources and equality. They were focused on civil rights, and this is where we are now. The Brown Berets also has done so much, which is kind of why we are here today. In the book Miras de Primero, it states, however, they supported the United Farm Workers struggle and locally were promoting educational reform and the introduction of classes in Mexican history. Not Anglo history that includes contributions of your forefathers. The contributions and efforts that the Brown Berets have done has helped change the farm worker struggles, and now it has changed over time and it isn't like it was before. Okay, under the Chicano history, identity, young Mexican Americans and Chicanos have been through racial power, racism in schools, and also in the fields. I talk about the political issues, the way that they were motivated organizing organizations, and their contributions into solving their problems during the Chicano movement. To sum up, I have talked about the systemic problems, the way they were motivated, and the contributions that were made by those efforts. Both schools and fields have so many problems and discrimination, as well as segregation to the states. The Chicano history is really important information to know about, and is as well as important than any other history that been taught, although many people don't know about this. And they don't have as much information about the Chicano history, involvement, how everything started, their story. And when learning about Chicano history, it blows people's mind because no one has been taught about their struggles and the pathways that they had. Okay, and these two are the other works cited pages. Sites, not sites, the documents I have used, other than the two books I mentioned. And thank you for listening.